We're now entering the world of the Gospel of Matthew. Mark's sense of urgency about the end is just electric. By the time of Matthew 10 to 20 years later, the expectation of the end had become an expectation of a delay at the end of which Jesus would return. In the meantime, there is the question of identity for Matthew's congregation. We're filming today in front of a church which is reminiscent of a synagogue in the ancient world, because Matthew's congregation was really a synagogue which was in tension with other synagogues, the difference being that the Matthean synagogue believed that Jesus was the master prophet and teacher and representative of the realm of God already coming to expression in the present. Because of this tension, one of the central questions for Matthew's congregation is, what does it mean to be faithfully Jewish? And Matthew wants to reassure his congregation that they are indeed still faithfully Jewish, even while believing that the ministry of Jesus signals the beginning and movement toward the consummation. This is why Jesus says so early in the Sermon on the Mount, "I have come not to abolish the law and the prophets, but to follow in their way." In fact, you can take almost everything that Rick said from the Hebrew Bible and project it into the concept of stewardship in the Gospel of Matthew. It may very well be the case that Matthew had a background as a Pharisee and used Pharisaic principles of biblical interpretation and theology in order to interpret Jesus, the coming of the realm, and the notion of stewardship. So what I would like to do now is look at a few key passages in the Gospel of Matthew, particularly from the Sermon on the Mount and toward the end of the Gospel of Matthew. It really is not too much to say that the Sermon on the Mount is a kind of manual of stewardship. If you think of the steward as one who is a representative of the realm, who is called upon to preach, teach, and enact the principles and reality of the realm under the aegis of Jesus Christ. So we begin with Matthew 6:19. "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where they could be consumed by rust and moths, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven." Now I have to say, for the longest time, I thought this was about the most self-serving approach to stewardship that one could imagine. Store up treasures that will benefit you when you reach the heavenly world. As it turns out, of course, two things are important to note here. One is that when Matthew uses the word heaven, he is referring to participating in the realm of God. Do things, store up, do things that will help you become a member of the community of the realm. And how? By storing up treasures. In the book of Sirach, which is a Jewish volume written some years before Matthew, we learn a very interesting correlation. Namely, that in Sirach, storing up treasure in heaven is a way of speaking about alms giving. How do you store up treasures for heaven? By giving alms. And this then forces us to realize that in the Jewish world, giving alms is not simply an act of charity, it is an act of expressing solidarity with the poor and of affirming your identity as a Jewish community. So storing up treasure in heaven is a way of taking what you have been given and sharing it with all for the benefit of the community, out of which you also benefit because you are a member of the community. In just a few verses, Jesus says so pointedly, you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve God and wealth, or, as the King James more vividly said, you cannot serve both God and mammon, because the one you serve is the one whose priorities will shape your life, your values, your behaviors, and your practices. And if you serve mammon, you will become yourself a Mammonite. Now, the last passage I want to look at in the Sermon on the Mount is chapter 6, verse 25, where Jesus says, do not worry about all these things, but seek first what? The realm of God, and all these things will be added unto you. It's not a magical formula that you go in your closet and pray and read your Bible for breakfast and come to church on Sunday. It is in the seeking that you become a part of the movement toward the realm. And we see this so very clearly in the climactic series of parables with which Jesus ends his teaching ministry, especially at the end of Matthew 24 and going into Matthew 25. Matthew 24 begins with Jesus' discourse on the last things. And then in chapter 24 at the end, he emphasizes to the disciples, you need to be prepared to live through a difficult time between now and the second coming. And here's how you prepare, and here's what you do. It is as if there is a household with two servants. The owner has gone away. There is a faithful servant and an unfaithful servant. The unfaithful servant allows the management of the house to deteriorate, for the other servants to get into drunkenness, brawls, and violence, and when the master returns, the judgment falls. Or you can be a faithful servant who manages the affairs of the state so that everything gives out its best. And when the manager, the owner, returns, you are welcomed and embraced. Point number one, you want to be a faithful servant. And then Jesus tells the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. There is a wedding, 10 bridesmaids, 5 brought enough oil, 5 did not. When they heard the bridegroom coming, the 5 who did not have enough oil, who were foolish in their behavior, rushed away to see if they could find some oil. But guess what? 7-Eleven was closed. The 5 wise bridesmaids were on hand to welcome the bridegroom. The underlying message, keep your light shining in the time of delay between now and the end. And in rabbinic tradition, only shortly later than this, we discover that once more almsgiving is equated with being prepared in this fashion. You wait by shining your light, which means to participate in the support of all in the community. That's point number 2. Then comes the parable of the talents. One more time, a landowner has gone away and leaves 3 servants, each with a different amount to invest in behalf of the estate. 10 talents, 5 talents, 1 talent. The servant with the 10 talents engages in great industry, imagination, and creativity, and doubles the amount. 5 talents exercises quite a bit of creativity, energy, and imagination, doubles the amount. The 1 talent servant does the absolute safe thing and buries the talent. When the homeowner returns to the 10-talent servant? Yes, great. Come in. To the 5-talent servant? Very well done. Come in. To the 1-talent servant? It's over. Throw him into the outer darkness where there is weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. The point? Even in the difficult circumstances in which Matthew's congregation finds itself, they are to multiply their witness to the realm. They are to do those things that witness to the realm even when they themselves are beleaguered. The final parable is the sheep and the goats. It is set as if the apocalypse has occurred and the judge of all the universe sits behind a massive judicial bench, and all the human beings who have ever lived have been resurrected and brought forward for judgment. To abbreviate the story, there are two groups. There are the goats and the sheep. The goats are not welcomed into the eternal realm, but are sent into condemnation. The sheep are welcomed. They become a part of the complete and final manifestation of the realm of God. And why? Because they have visited in the prison. They have clothed those who have no clothing. They have fed those who have no food. They have visited those who are lonely. They have been stewards in the fullest sense of the realm. They have taken the possibilities of the realm and they have put it into action in community so that as many people as possible could experience as much of the qualities of life of the realm as they can. That is the defining notion of stewardship for the Gospel of Matthew.